piece of...
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. See a lot of faces in the audience that I haven't seen at meetings in a long time, and that's fantastic. I am Warden Hart. I am the mayor here in the village of Trumansburg, and I wanted to just say a few words before the Comprehensive Plan and Zoning Revision Committee kind of take over and explain what they've been working on these past many months. I formed the committee in April or May, so late spring of last year, 2018. And I established what was and still is a very aggressive timeline. The last time a comprehensive plan was put together was the first time a comprehensive plan was put together in Trumansburg. It took 3 years for the comprehensive plan to be created, and then it took another 4 years to amend what at the time was 41-year-old zoning. Now, because of that kind of first, it was a first for the comprehensive plan, it was the first time zoning had been looked at in 2 generations, it's understandable that it took a fair bit of time. My hope this time around is that we could essentially cut a 6.5-year process in half. It is somewhat aggressive even under these circumstances, but I thought that now is a good time. We of course know all about the elephant in the room, which is development, projects, people wanting to do things in the region. The town of Ulysses, of course, is looking at revising their zoning that has been making headlines. So I thought kind of with all of that as a backdrop, now would be a time to do things as effectively and efficiently as possible, not to do things quickly or swiftly or in a rushed manner, but when everyone is paying attention, it's a nice time to get people's input. I'm pleased to say that although technically, if you look at a calendar, the committee may be a few months behind the schedule that I'd initiated last year, I really don't feel that they're off of that timeline very much. It takes a while to ramp up these things, and what you're going to see tonight, I think, is a lot of work that has been done over the past many months. I want to thank EDR, which is the consultant group that the village engaged to help the village through this process. And I particularly want to thank all of the members of the committee. I tend to be someone by my nature who doesn't mind driving things myself. If I want to get something done, I tend to push a little bit. My hope for the committee was that I wouldn't have to do that. I really wanted to see a group of residents come together and begin to think through all of the considerations that go into how do you try to really guess, because that's what a comprehensive plan is. How do we try to guess what we think the best condition of the village might be 1 or 2 decades from now? And I'm pleased to say that was what the committee did. It really has taken on a life of its own. I follow the emails very closely between the members. The debate has been lively at times, but always engaging. So I'm pleased to see that the work that they've been doing, and I'm very hopeful that this will produce an end product that everyone in the village can say, yes, it was thoughtful, it was well done, it was well thought out, and the engagement was there from beginning to end. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Walt, who is from EDR. He has been kind of the primary consultant working with the members of the committee, and he'll go through what they've been doing, and we'll go from there. There will be a lot of question and answer throughout. Just as an aside, if there are questions that don't specifically pertain to the work of the committee, I'm actually okay, if Walt is okay, I'm okay with fielding those, but I want to try, if we can, not to get too far out into the weeds so that we can learn all about the good work that the committee's been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor said, my name is Walt Kalina. I'm with Environmental Design and Research, EDR. I'm here tonight with Jane Rice. She's the Director of Planning at EDR. Erica Tauser is a Senior Planner with EDR. And Kyle Hatch, he's another planner with EDR. I'd also like to acknowledge the committee members, Ben Darfler. Okay, you can tell because we're all wearing name tags. Steph Bailey, Scott Sheevely, David Breeden, Kathy Klemperer, Jack Katz, and Tom Myers, and Tom Pepe. As the mayor said, we've been working for the last few months on gathering existing information on the community. We've been reviewing the existing comprehensive plan that was prepared back in 2008. Our recommendation as consultants, and many of the recommendations that come from state and county agencies, is that a community should really take a hard look at its comprehensive plan every 10 years. Actually, we should be looking at it every 3 to 5 years, but possibly making changes to a comprehensive plan every 10 years, because communities are not stagnant. They change, and your comprehensive plan needs to change along with the community. So in reaction to the mayor's request for proposals, EDR came on board, and we've been working with the committee since earlier this year. I just want to make a couple of notes, and then we'll get into the presentation tonight. Everything you see tonight is in draft form. It's all preliminary draft information that we're preparing. Nothing set in stone. We have not compiled a draft of the comprehensive plan yet. We've been collecting data, analyzing data, we've been preparing maps, we've been preparing tables and charts. But the real reason that we need this meeting tonight is to listen to the community. So from this point forward, we really need the input of the entire community in this comprehensive planning process. Now that we know what the existing conditions are, we need the community to weigh in to make sure that we understand what the issues are that are confronting the community right now. What are the opportunities that you see that the community can really take advantage of? So this is the beginning of the public outreach process for the comprehensive plan. We now have a good understanding of existing conditions. We now need your input, and as we develop draft portions of the plan, you'll have an opportunity to review those draft portions, provide additional input at upcoming meetings, and we're really looking for community input in this process. Tonight the presentation will take 2 phases. This first phase will be about a half an hour. I'll go through some of the benefits of a comprehensive plan and why it's important to update it. I'll talk about the comprehensive plan and how local land use regulations are affected by the planning process. I'll talk specifically about the planning process in Trumansburg, and then we'll have a question and answer period, and then we'll talk about some of the next steps in the process. And then we'll open it up so folks can wander around and look at the boards, and we can talk about the various issues and opportunities that we see in the community. And again, we really need your input in that phase. So, as I mentioned, your comprehensive plan is now 11 years old. The community's changing. Technology alone in the past 10 years, you know how much it has changed. It's changing the way that we work, it changes the way we live. And so it's really important that we assess current conditions within the community. When you did the original plan in 2008, there was a great deal of focus and emphasis on creating a vision for the community. We've worked with the community again, or with the committee again, on drafting some changes in that vision statement. The original plan in 2008 had a variety of vision statements for various components of the plan, which is all fine. But we wanted to take another look at the vision statement now in the community and update the vision statement. Vision statement is a very broad statement by the community on how you want to appear in the future. How do you want to look? How do you want to function? What's the quality of life in the community? So the vision statement is a very important part of the planning process for a comprehensive plan. Why develop a comprehensive plan? The old comprehensive plan had action items in those. We're going through a lot of those action items that were recommended in that plan. We're seeing what has been accomplished in the village since then, what has not been accomplished. Maybe things have changed. The village had undertaking other things. So we'll be developing a whole new list of active action items, and that will be in this comprehensive plan update for the community to undertake in terms of projects and policies. One of the biggest benefits of an updated comprehensive plan right now, in addition to providing a guide to the community on how to address the future, how to anticipate changes in the future, It's a guide for all the decision makers, and it's a guide for all the residents and businesses and other stakeholders in the community. But in the last few years, one of the primary benefits of having an up-to-date comprehensive plan is the ability to leverage that plan for funding. And right now, the state agencies are providing a lot of funding to communities. And when they're looking at those funding opportunities, the first thing they look at is a comprehensive plan for a community. And say, for example, you want to seek funding for green infrastructure, stormwater management, sidewalks, road improvements. Could be a whole host of things. There are funding opportunities and grants available through a lot of the state agencies. But the state agencies will look at your comprehensive plan and see if it's supported by the community and what types of projects the community has identified. So if your comprehensive plan is up to date, and it has all these action items, and it has specific projects in there that the community wants to undertake, that really bodes well, and the agencies like to see that in the comprehensive plan. And that is a positive statement to the agencies that the community is behind whatever action they're trying to undertake, whatever type of grant funding they're trying to pursue. So having an up-to-date comprehensive plan is very important moving forward in terms of being able to secure funding mechanisms, especially through state and county and federal agencies. One of the things that a comprehensive plan really needs to address, like I've been talking about, are some of the challenges and opportunities in a community, and these change all the time. Technology changes, populations change, not only the number of people in a community, but the demographics of the community, the characteristics. The population ages, new people come into the community, they demand new services. So it's really important that we find out what those challenges and opportunities are, and those need to be identified in the comprehensive plan. That's why we're here tonight, and some of the things that we'll be working on later really are to identify some of those challenges and opportunities. Should also be a basis for village-wide policies, and here are just some examples of sustainable economic growth and development. Growth and development are important to keep a community healthy, to keep its economy healthy, but it has to be managed in a way so that you're not overburdening the tax structure, you're not overburdening public infrastructure. So it needs to be managed. Preservation of important natural resources, that's again an important part of the comprehensive planning process as communities are undergoing different types of development. Identifying community needs and capital improvements. Maybe something like sidewalk, maybe street lighting. It may be other types of sewer, water infrastructure. A lot of things that, again, you might be able to seek funding from various agencies. And then it's also addressing village-wide policies on maybe some new or amending some of your local land use laws. And when I'm talking about land use laws, I'm talking about zoning and some of the other things that I'll identify in a few minutes. This is a typical planning structure, a comprehensive plan structure. This is the same way that the 2008 plan was set up. It includes an inventory and an assessment of your existing conditions. That's what we're working on right now. It includes that vision that I talked about, and that's what we're developing. You'll see a draft vision statement here, and it's on the handouts that you picked up. The next step after the vision will be identifying specific goals. The goals are ways to help achieve that vision. They're getting a little bit more specific. And then even more specific than the goals, we'll have recommendations. And there'll be short-term and long-term recommendations. They're actually specific action items, projects, action items that the community will undertake. This is just another, again, just reiterating the vision, the goals, and the recommended strategies and actions. When we come down to those actions, it's what do you need to do to achieve your vision? It has to be something that you're able to measure. So if it's improving the business climate, we need to be able to measure if there has been improvement in local business development. It also has to do with accountability. So we can't take on too much that the community just can't accomplish in a period of time. So we have to make it feasible and realistic. This is one of the boards in back. And one of the things about this is the comprehensive project and timeline. And the various circles on this timeline indicate where we are. Right now, we're in the focus and the inventory analysis phase, so we're in this beginning phase right now. And right here, you'll see on the board in the back, if you can't see it here, this is where we're gathering feedback from this first public information meeting. So we've identified a draft vision statement. We're gathering all the information on existing conditions. So we're in this inventory and analysis phase. We'll soon be moving into the next phase, which are the goals and objectives and actually developing the plan itself. We'll have another public information meeting that will be probably towards the mid to latter part of the first quarter of 2020. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other opportunities for the community to participate. The committee has been meeting on the second Thursday of every month. And we would encourage people to attend those committee meetings. I think it's another way for you to get a sense of the direction that the plan is taking, especially as we're moving more into these action items and the recommendations of the plan itself. The agendas for those committee meetings are posted on the village's website. The meetings are typically held at 6:30, again, the second Thursday of the month. So we would really encourage people to attend those meetings, again, just to keep up to date on what's happening with the comprehensive planning process. As I said, in the first quarter of 2020, we'll have the second of these public information meetings. That will be a review of draft portions of the comprehensive plan, the recommended actions, you'll have some sense of the direction that the draft plan is going in. And then eventually later on next year, we'll get into the review and the adoption phase when the actual final draft of the plan is available for the community to review. And then based upon the review, we'll be revising sections of the draft plan. And then the plan will come before the Board of Trustees, and the board will either act on adopting the plan or not adopting the plan. And again, this is just where we are at this stage right now. So it's still a part of the process where we need your input. I just want to make that point clear. These are some of the topics that we look at when we're doing a comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plans, the nice thing about New York State is some states have a very rigid way of developing comprehensive plans. New York State, a comprehensive plan for a community can be developed any way that the community really wants its comprehensive plan to be developed. What I've been showing you are some of the typical things about a comprehensive plan. This is more of a typical comprehensive plan with vision and goals. And these are some of the issues that we typically look at: land and resources, infrastructure, cultural and historic resources, economic, social resources, government policies, those types of things. We look at what's been done in the past, what's happening right now, and what we can anticipate in the future. We talked about the importance of a comprehensive plan. The village has zoning regulations in effect. It's really important that the zoning regulations align with the comprehensive plan. And the state is paying more and more attention to that in litigation when litigation is coming before them. So it's important that your regulations, whether it be zoning or some of the other regulations I'll show you in a little while, are based on your comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan will have a future land use plan within it. And that's a direction for how you want the community to continue to develop in the future. And it's important that all of your zoning regulations are based and justified on the comprehensive plan. So when we're done with the comprehensive plan, as the mayor had mentioned, then we take a look at the zoning. And we may be making recommendations for amending various parts of the zoning to bring it up to modern standards. And then there are other tools for managing local land development, not just zoning. So there's site plan. This is a process that you currently have within the community. Subdivision regulations, again, you currently have in the community. Special use permits. Design guidelines, you have those only in your commercial district right now, but it may be something that we make a recommendation that we consider in some of the residential areas. And that's not to put a burden on the residential neighborhoods, it's just to make sure that the residential neighborhoods are being developed so as new housing is coming in, it's consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And that's really important because we've spent time looking at your various neighborhoods, and it's somewhat unique for a village to have so many very different neighborhoods, and they all have their own character. And one of the things I think is important to protect that character, that's part of the charm of your community. And so design guidelines may be applicable to downtown, and it may be applicable to some of the residential areas. Development standards. You don't have development standards right now in place. There's a difference between design guidelines, which are not regulatory, they're flexible. Development standards, there's no flexibility, it's a regulation. So development standards can address things like maximum height of various types of development, or maximum scale of buildings, requirements for minimum types of landscaping, requirements for green infrastructure, instead of some of the standard stormwater management practices. So we'll be looking at the possibility of maybe the community can use development standards. Again, with the idea of protecting especially the residential neighborhoods. Open space protection, there's currently a stream buffer overlay, but we'll be looking at other opportunities possibly for protecting open space, public open space within the community. And then stormwater management, right now, the village is following state stormwater management design manual requirements. Possibility may exist where the village may want to develop a comprehensive stormwater management plan. So that's something that we'll be discussing as well with the committee. Before I go on a little bit further, any questions yet? Okay, slow me down if I'm moving too fast, and wake up if I'm boring you. So this is again is a summary of the comprehensive planning process. So public involvement is really at the base of this process. And as I mentioned, what we've been working on right now is to gather enough information so that we understand the community, we understand some of the issues and opportunities, but we're at a stage now where we really need to listen to you, because we're bringing in a different perspective coming from outside of the community. The vision statement we talked about, the inventory and analysis, which we're now involved in. The next part of the process will be the development of goals and recommendations and action items. That will be something that will be put on the website for the community to review in the next few months, and then that will be the subject of the public information meeting, probably in February or March of 2020. Then we go through that adoption process with the Village Board of Trustees. And then once the plan is adopted, then you get into the implementation of the plan. It's actually undertaking some of those projects and the action items that we had I talked about earlier. These are some of the next steps in the process that we're involved in now. So tonight you have the draft of the vision statement. We'd like you to take a look at that. There is a board with the draft vision statement. It's also on the back of one of the handouts. Take a look at that vision statement. Again, we've worked on it pretty hard. We really tried to get the wording in there that the committee was comfortable with. There may be things that we're not considering, or maybe things we're overlooking, or maybe things that you agree with, or maybe you don't disagree with. Take a look at that vision statement and mark it out. And either tonight on the board, or take those vision statements home with you and consider it. If you like it, fine. If you would suggest some changes to it, make those changes on it, and then get it back to the village office. And we'll be taking all of that input back to the committee, and we'll be discussing it, and we'll be making changes. After the vision statement, we'll be completing the draft section of the existing conditions portion of the draft plan. We're working on that now. We'll also be drafting goals, objectives, and those implementation steps that I talked about. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have a public meeting next year. Draft documents will all be put on the website for your review. And then the final plan will also include a public hearing before its adoption. Now, before its adoption, the village has to go through the Environmental Quality Review Act. The village has its own version of the state environmental quality review process. So there will be a public hearing and an assessment of the impact of the comprehensive plan on the environment. The things that we're going to be recommending in the comprehensive plan will all benefit the environment. So I don't see that as a major issue in adversely affecting the environment. When I'm talking about the environment, I'm talking about the natural, the cultural, the economic environment. The comprehensive plan also has to go through a review by county planning. That will be done at that time, and then the adoption by the Board of Trustees. There's a board back here that you can take a look at. These are just some examples of the maps that you'll be seeing in the plan. Yes, sir.
I had a question that kind of goes with what was previous.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of things. I did community planning for a couple of decades.
Mhm.
I like what I see here. This looks great.
Good.
It was a great process. Here's something trivial. The URL that you get when you scan the Q code is not the same as the one that's printed here. I tried to print it one once, it didn't work. The QR code does work. Somebody wants to look at that probably.
Oh, okay.
There was a survey done ahead of the previous comprehensive plan,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a pretty big survey. I don't know if you saw the history of it. One, 64% of households
Yep.
responded or something.
Yep.
It's remarkable. There were two kinds of questions. But will there be such a thing in this process? That's why I'm talking here.
We had not anticipated such a lengthy survey. One of the ideas we had been talking about with the committee was to basically do this first analysis to identify issues and opportunities, and that would address whether or not we need a survey, but it would be a limited survey if we do a survey for the village.
Right. The previous survey for the last comprehensive plan was extensive, and in the public input period when we were all getting that together, the things that were valued in the village were listed out. Things like historic buildings, good schools, and so forth. There was a request that quiet be added to that list. And in the survey, did you see that quiet got the highest rating? The planners found that kind of a strange request, that we wanted to rate quiet, but it got the highest response. When we have visitors that come to stay with us here, one of the first things they notice after just a little bit is, that's really quiet here. And that's important. And it's important because a lot of us would like to do something about the intruding truck noise that we currently have. And it would be great to have a statement from the community that takes that. Enough said.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but I think that's a perfect example of what we want to hear from you right now. The original survey was extensive, and we've gone through it in detail with the committee. And a lot of the information, I'm sure, is still valid. I don't see a need to redo such an extensive survey. And that was our hope, that we could identify some of those current issues through this process. Because we'd really like to focus in terms of budget and time on what the issues are and try to address the strategies and actions that we can take to address those issues. And just along the issue of noise, the committee meeting that we had last week, land use and lighting came up, and some of the impacts of lighting on adjacent properties. So that's something that we'll be taking a look at as well. Kind of goes along with the same idea, lighting, noise, some of those intrusive things that are happening that affect quality of life.
Okay. One other thing that visitors comment on, and the first time I heard this was from a bed and breakfast operator, someone who had a lot of visitors. they said that the thing that their visitors reacted to most positively in the village was the old residential 19th century streets, not Main Street. Not to put down Main Street, it's very important. But,
Right.
and I hear this all the time from people, that the old residential streets are, this key thing in the village.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's part of the charm of the neighborhoods that, when we decided to take a hard look at the neighborhoods, it was exactly the way they were laid out. So you're absolutely right, and those are two great examples of the types of things that we're hoping that we hear from you, whether it be tonight or ongoing. We need to hear specific things like that. If truck noise is an issue along 96, then we need to hear that, so it's in the comprehensive plan. Okay? Thank you, sir. So again, these are not easy to see on the slide. They will be much easier to see digitally if you have access once these are posted on the website. Everything that is electronic you can zoom in on. There is a tremendous amount of information on these maps, and these maps just represent the types of information that you'll see in the comprehensive plan. And again, there's a board back there where you can actually see all the building footprints, you can see the property lines. Just really quickly, these maps address current land use. So it addresses where the residential areas are, where the commercial areas are, where your parks are. Cultural resources designate where some of the National Register sites are located in the community, as well as we took some information from a walking brochure of the community, and it identified a number of community landmarks. So we've identified those on the maps. The maps of wetlands and floodplains and hydric soils that we've included. And then another map of parks and trails and community facilities. So all of that information is part of this existing conditions portion of the comprehensive plan. This is the draft vision statement that I've been talking about. I don't think I need to read it right now. You have it with you. There is a board so you can read it. I can come back and leave this one out for a while if you want to read it. But this is like the first thing that we would like you to comment on, if you can. If you agree with it tonight and you want to say so, let us know. And if you want to take home the information and work on it, please do so. And then there's a board back here, and what we are hoping is that you can take some of the pens and pads of paper and you can help us identify what you feel some of the strengths are of the village. And for example, historic homes, or the residential neighborhoods, or the old streets. Those are some of the strengths of the neighborhood, some of the things that you would like to preserve, keep in place. What are some of the limitations? It may be, lack of developable land, or some other type of limitations. Opportunities could be things like tourism. You're in the heart of the Finger Lakes. Maybe we can expand upon tourist-based businesses in the community. And challenges could be things like infrastructure needs or something like that. So we'll have folks back there with these boards, and we'll try to step you through that process. And again, we would be asking you to provide your input. And then just before we break up into the sections, again, there's a comment box. You can write on any of the paper that you picked up as you entered the room. We can provide some other. We can provide some other. That's okay. Yeah. We can provide some other paper if you want to provide some additional comments. Feel free also to drop your comments off at the village office, and again, the committee will get a hold of it, and then we'll discuss it at the committee meetings. Sign up to be notified of the second public meeting, and that will be noticed on the village website as well. And then here is the village website with the zoning revision committee. And then again, just take our mini survey tonight if you can, or access it, and we'll figure out what's wrong with that code. Okay. So that's basically it. I'll leave the draft vision statement up here if you want to take a look at it. It's on the board. There's still a lot of refreshments here for you folks, and we encourage you to walk around. Folks from EDR will be here until the end of the meeting, and you've got the committee members. So take a look at the boards, feel free to ask questions. Any other questions right now before we kind of wander around? Did I overwhelm everybody or underwhelm you? I just want to make a point. We really need your help. This really is an important opportunity for the community to participate in the process. And a really well done comprehensive plan really needs input from the community. So we're really looking for your help in putting the plan together. Yes, sir.
Is there any, our plan will conform to what they're doing, and along with that, we're somewhat bounded by Ulysses.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that we might be wanting to do 2 feet outside of our boundary may be completely different from what the character that we're trying to maintain.
Yep.
How do you address that?
The town is actually on our list of stakeholders. One of the things the committee will be doing at future meetings will be specifically inviting some of those stakeholders, and we'll be forming like focus group discussions. And that's one of the things that the committee has already addressed, is to make sure that we're dealing with the town so that we can address some of those boundary issues, see what their zoning is, and see, you know, where the problems might lie, and see if there's any way to remedy that. So yes, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, well, we're around till the end of the meeting, so please feel free to, you know, take advantage of the food and take advantage of looking at the boards and asking questions while you're here. And I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.